Hi, welcome to part 2 of how to surf life's biggest waves. Today we're going to talk about oneness and the power of one. But first, I'm going to begin with some self-inquiry. So I'm going to ask you to close your eyes, settle down, just melt into your space, get comfortable, just relax for a little bit. I want you to begin by thinking a little bit about your life right now. What's going on at this current moment? What have you had on your mind? What's been on your thoughts? Who's experiencing those thoughts? Who's going through the situations that you're going through? You might say your name. You might say me. You might say this body, this mind. And then I would ask, who is that? Who is that name? Who is that body? Who is that mind, or that thing that's experiencing those thoughts or that situation? You might say a thought. What is a thought? You look for the answer, but you can't find it. Or you might say it's energy. And then I would ask, what is energy? And if you have any more answers, I would break it down. What is that? Until you don't find any answer. And when you're in that place where you have no answer, I want you to sit with it. Who am I? Now it's that space, that unanswerable place that reveals the essence of who you really are. It's spacious. You can't hold on to it. It's beingness. It's singular. It's whole. It's perfect. It's divine. And it's who you really are. Every time you come into any sort of wandering of your mind or circumstance that's uncomfortable, you can do a self-inquiry and just ask yourself, who is experiencing this? And I would say Candace. Who is Candace? Me. Who is me? A thought. Who is the thought? And it puts me right back in that place of presence and that awareness. Brings me into the now, into the singular moment, into this. And it's then that I'm able to remember that this outside of me, what I perceive to be this world out here, is merely a reflection of what's in here. It's also seen as a dream. Just like the dreams we have at night, that feels so real. It feels like us inside of this world experiencing all these things. And maybe in the dream world, you know, the physics and gravity and everything doesn't quite match this dream, but it's not much different. It feels like us in a separate world experiencing. And when we stop and get present to what is, and take a moment to do self-inquiry, or just pause and just be, we're able to dismantle the separation that we feel outside of us. So I invite you and encourage you to do self-inquiry often. Even though you know the answer, just go through the process, but go through the process consciously. Who am I? Contemplate it. Do it repetitiously throughout your day. Brush your teeth and do it. Before bed, I encourage you, especially when you first wake up, do it. Who am I? Am I this perceived character in the dream, or am I the actual dreamer behind the dream? The one that stays still while all this is in constant motion. So play with it. Start getting behind the situation at hand and watch. So in this course, How to Surf Life's Biggest Waves, I go through 5 pillars of bliss. Now, these 5 pillars are all interlinked. They're kind of like the Olympic rings that are all interlinked, or a 5-pointed star. Bliss being in the middle, and these are like different pillars, but they all interconnect and they all intermingle, but each has a teaching in and of its own. And when you abide in each pillar, there's no question you will find bliss. Sometimes it's logical, and sometimes it's beyond logic. It's beyond the thought. And so you have to feel it. You have to come into your inner knowing to fully understand the value and the wisdom of these pillars. Yesterday, I spoke on pillar number 1, which is divinity, knowing ourselves as the divine. And one of the questioners asked, how do you know you're divine? And upon more thought, and I responded with, you just do. Like the Matrix quote from the Oracle, she says, you just do. It's like falling in love. But upon more thought, and as I said in the first video, you can't logically think your way into divinity, because divinity is beyond thought. You can read all the books and do all the science and math, and it'll still never get you quite to divinity until you bring it into your heart. You have to feel it. You have to get outside of your thoughts and everything you think you know about God and life. And you have to decide to feel it, to know it to be true. Now, some people call this faith or trust, but I believe it's a conscious decision. It's an active decision to constantly come into our divinity in each moment. And so that's why self-inquiry, asking ourselves the questions and getting back into that space really helps. Or mantras like, I am, or I am divine, help lead us back to it. But it exists within the heart. It exists within the nowness. Thoughts can help guide you to it, but it's beyond thought. And so I point to more of this in the first this first segment. It's on the YouTube channel. You can check that out. But I just wanted to recap, and I wanted to remind people that you're going to have to get out of your head to find some of this. Bliss is beyond. It's beyond the rational mind, and it's beyond thought. In fact, thought is what makes us suffer. And so this leads me into today's lesson, which is the power of one. One is heaven, two is hell. One is heaven, two is hell. The only real math you ever need to have bliss is this. One is heaven, bliss, Satchitananda, nirvana, ecstasy, love, peace, completeness, perfection. And anything else is division, war, suffering, hell, divide, turmoil, illness, etc. So what does that mean? It means a lot of things. I'm going to break it down starting with the interconnection of us and the divine. There is only one, and it is you. You are one. You are it. You are all that there is, and I am a reflection of you. You are a reflection of me, and we are a reflection of the divine. There's only one. Now, while it appears that there's 7.5 billion people, there's only one. There's only one divine being. And in this dream that we call reality, which it's not real, so it's not reality because the only thing that's real is this one. But this dream, this Maya illusion, well, it looks like we're split up and divided. We're not. We're all one thing. It's kind of like the body. The divine is the body, and it looks like we're all the limbs and fingers and hair and nails all split off. But we're just one thing. And when we get back into that, who am I? And we get into that spaciousness, you can feel that one. It's the same space that all things feel. It's that space that sits between me and the pillow. It's the same space that's within this body. It's that spaciousness that's in everything. That's one thing. And when we forget to see that, we suffer. We see two and we see infinite. We see an infinite amounts of separation and divide. We see us against other. We see us against the objects of the room, us against nature. We even see us, who we think is in our head, against our body. Our body gets sick and it feels like it's attacking us. So there's a divide because we think it's two. So anything we see as other, we make two, 3, 4, 5 zillion. And it causes us grief. It causes us to protect. It causes us to lash out. It causes us to villainize, to victimize. It causes us to do a whole array of things because we're in protection of thinking that we're separate. And inside of separateness is birth and death. Two. We think that there's a beginning and an end, which is two. Or beginning, middle, end, which is multiplicity, which is two or more, which is more suffering. But when we understand there's only one moment, one eternal being, there is no birth, there is no death, there is only the eternal now, because there is no time. We no longer begin to suffer. There's only now. Now. now, now. Whatever happened 5 minutes ago or will happen in this so-called 5 minutes from now has actually no bearing on this moment. Because there's only now, there's only one. Just because you were sick yesterday doesn't mean you will be today or tomorrow. You can be, but you might not be. Because of thought, we often carry what happened, what seemed to have happened, into the so-called future. And we drag things in, creating suffering. Because we think that there's 2, 3, a yesterday, a tomorrow, a past, a future. It creates great divide. We think there's a you and there's a me. We think I can't understand them because it appears they're in another body. So I can't possibly understand them. So I need to protect myself from them because they could hurt me. I need to look better than them because I need to make sure I'm above them so they can't hurt me. I'm jealous of them because I think they might be better than me. And so I'm afraid that will hurt me. So I need to attack them. You versus me. Suffering, hell, agony. It's awful. We go about our life feeling like we're on a landmine, constantly under attack. Whether it's something spilling or dropping, somebody commenting and saying something we don't like, something happening at work unexpected, tripping and falling on something, a stomach ache, a car accident, a mess we didn't expect, exhaustion we don't want to feel, anything. But we're constantly in defense of this world, feeling separate of it because we make it out to be real. We forget that it's just one thing. It's the dream of God. It's the mind of God. It's the heart of God. Whatever you want to call it, it's just one thing. It's like the dreams you have at night. They're just one thing. And who's watching it? Who's experiencing it? Even though it feels so real, it's just one thing. You could say that you're the designer of your dreams. You're also the other characters and the different little pieces and articles and materials inside of that dream is all one thing. And so is this. It's like a snow globe. We're all contained in it. And it's all contained within water and glass. We're all contained within a mind, a thought. And so when we're surfing life's biggest waves and we got things crashing on us and it feels like we're about to collapse and drown into the infinite well under the water into the ocean, and life comes at us and we're getting hit with a divorce or bankruptcy or a job loss or an insult, illness, a diagnosis, a sick child, a death, and we feel like we're hit and we're crashing. We can find bliss by remembering we're one. That those things that seem separate of us are actually a part of us. Well, it seems like that car that's about to hit us feels out there. We are actually one with the whole experience. We are that street, we are that car, we are that driver, we are the sky, we are the sign, we are the buildings around it, we are the tree, we're our car, we're us, we're the whole thing. And it's a reflection, and it's a teacher, and it's an ally. And it's like, here's who we think we are, and here's what we perceive it to be, but yet we're connected as one. It seems like we're separate. And so we fight and get mad and resist and want to protect. And we feel victim to this accident. But when we zoom back out and remember all the connections in the dream that we're in, we can watch it from the space as if it was a movie, as if it was a dream. And we don't have to play any part in it. We're neither the victim or the one that caused the accident or the car or the tree. We can just sit back and watch. And we can allow. And we can understand that because this is one thing, it's all divine. It's all fateful. It was all meant to happen. It was all part of the script. We have no control over it because it was all one thing. There's no beginning or end. It just is. It's an incident that just is. And as we come to accept that everything just is as one, we no longer suffer. We can actually alchemize and change everything to be light. Instead of resisting it and saying, that's separate of me, I'm scared of it, I'm suffering over it, we can say, thank you, that was meant to happen, and I'm going to take the blessings from this accident and turn it into something of value for me. It's all for me. It's all a reflection of me. So maybe that accident was waking me up to see my divinity. Now that's the story of something that this one we'll call Candace I went through. I went through a car accident on a very specific night. Everything felt at random at that time. It was an accident right after 9/11, just a few weeks after 9/11, 2001. And everything at that time felt separate. 9/11, the street I was on when it happened, the day, everything felt random. And here I was having a really rough morning, like going through some really extraordinary rough things in my life, having a nervous breakdown, in fact. Life was pushing me so hard, and I felt so victim to it. And later that night, a car comes crashing into me. And I was hurt very badly for months, put me out of work. I lost money. It was a whole mess. Now, it wasn't until years later when I started understanding spirituality and started understanding the oneness in everything, I wasn't able to see the interconnection that accident was not at random. Ironically, it was my childhood favorite car that hit me, a brand new red Corvette. Those are pretty rare, and I found it really peculiar that a Corvette, brand new, it was actually stolen that night, came and hit me. It also so-called happened right in front of a friend's house where I was able to get help right away from my friends. And because it was right after 9/11, I had a swarm of people who wanted to all be my hero and help me. And it happened on a day that my family needed a really big wake-up call. We were very divided, and I had a major big fight with my mom that morning. I was kicked out of the house, and our family was in major jeopardy. And that accident actually brought us all together. I also was so injured and was encouraged to get back surgery, but my intuition told me no. And I suffered through the back injury for several months until someone at my church told me about a holistic doctor that could help me. And as soon as I went, I was able to stand up again. And within a year, I was back to feeling normal. Because of going to that holistic doctor, it led me on this path of holistic thinking, whole, one, mind, body, spirit connection, which trailed me to where I am now. Now, years later, after that accident and going down that path of holistic thinking, I was able to piece together that accident and how it was destined and how it was part of my awakening and how I was able to see that everything, and I mean everything, is working in our favor. I can't imagine life without that accident because it altered that year in a major way for me. It slowed me down. It opened me up. It changed our family. It felt hard in the moment, but I look back at it with a lot of gratitude because even though I had nothing to do with the driving situation, I was stopped at a red light when it hit me. It slowed me down. How I drove changed, and how I responded to life changed because of someone else perceived someone else's mistake. But those two men in that car who ran up from the scene of the accident and never found were me. We're one. They were my teacher to slow down. They crashed into me. It was me crashing into me, waking myself up, calling for attention, calling for love, to wake up and find my divinity, to find my power, to find the oneness. And luckily, since that time, I have yet to ever be in an accident again because the message came through. And so when we get the messages from life, when life knocks us down and we get the message, hey, we're one, it's trying to bring you back to your divinity, we quit encountering such tragedies and horrific accidents. Life is constantly doing whatever it can to bring us back to that place of one. It'll slap us, and sometimes it gives us synchronicity and magic, all bringing us back to one. There's that movie Crash. It's the same thing. It's a beautiful movie. It's a hard movie for me to watch because it really echoes where I've been. But at the very beginning, it says everybody's looking to crash into each other because we feel that connection. Because on the soulful level of us, even in the dream, we know we're one. And we feel what each other feels. I can watch TV and see somebody cut their finger and I feel the pain, even though that person's not real, because we're one. We're so interconnected to our worst enemies and to our best friends, to our pets and to our plants. Everything is connected. And so when we remember that as we're going through the storms of life and the challenges of life, it brings us back to our heart. It softens us. It brings us into our empathy. It brings us into our divinity. I had another very difficult incident last year. Somebody outright did something illegal and felt very horrific, stealing tens of thousands of dollars from our business. And I had a choice whether to fight and pursue legal action or to let it go. Neither would have been wrong. No choice is wrong because it's all one. It's all perfect. There's nothing we can ever do right or wrong because it's only one. But in that time, I was exhausted. And we were already coming, my family and I were coming through a very difficult patch before that even happened. We were looking to complete this business deal with this woman because she had been a very difficult person all the way leading up to this. So we were very excited to complete the deal with her, get it paid, and be on our way. Even though I knew she was me, I was very excited to just put that one to rest and move on and finish everything up. She owed us money. She knew she owed us money. She said she'd have the money to us by the date that it was required to be paid to us. And the day before we were supposed to get paid, we were also in a lot of need for the money, but the day before that we were supposed to get paid, we didn't hear from her. She knew we were expecting payment, and she said she decided she's not going to pay us. She's a lawyer, and she decided to use her so-called power to play unfair. Like I said, we were already exhausted. We had already gone through a lot of stuff with her and with other situations. And I didn't have the fight in me. Even though it appeared that I needed that money so bad. And she made a really huge impact on our livelihood by not giving us that money. I decided in the law of one, I would let it go. Because she was me. She in her heart, for whatever reason, decided that she wasn't going to pay us. She had a story about who my husband and I were, even though we told her it's not true, and we told you humbly we're struggling. She decided in her own heart she wasn't going to pay. And we decided from the place of one, there's no right or wrong, and we're going to accept. Because I don't want to fight. I don't want to. I don't want to see her outside of me. I don't want division in my life. So I decided to accept, even though it felt unfair and it felt wrong to the separate ego. I accepted it. And we had to scramble to make payment arrangements on all of our bills because she had the money to have gotten us months ahead of our bills, but we ended up having to scramble. I decided in that moment, now I wavered, I struggled, I don't think for one moment that I immediately got into one. I immediately felt so angry and wanted to fight. We even looked into taking her to court because it felt so unfair. We talked to several lawyers and they said, you know, just because of the situation, and she's a lawyer and she's already played dirty, she's already done some illegal things. She already started the business deal out doing illegal things. This woman's gonna likely play separate and play unfair. So don't expect this to go easy for you guys. You could win because if you know you have verifiable proof, you're in the right, but the law And I mean, the justice system isn't always just. And a lot of lawyers and other people said this could be a very ugly mess for you because of her position of power and the fact that you guys don't have a lot of money right now. It's going to actually take quite a bit of work to bring this woman down with the play that she has. Between that and coming into my heart, I decided to let go for my own peace, because I realized she is not outside of me, and because I decided that bliss, the law of one, is more important in it than having money. What's right and what is fair is divided. It's two. Because if there's right, then there's wrong. What's fair means there's unfair. That's two. And I decided to see her as one. And I decided to have compassion for her, because on some level, someone that would steal and make up a story that's untrue about us, even though we came with our hat in hand, humbly, and saying, we're going through a lot. We really need that payment on time. Even though she didn't believe that story and it was the truth, I believe she's me. I believe that something in her heart needed the compassion and the grace to let it go. We just let it go. Even after we let it go, she wanted to fight. The ego sometimes cannot actually accept love, and it still wants to fight. And so she actually said, I'm going to sue you now. And we were like, lady, you already took our money. We don't have any more money to give to you. And she still didn't believe that we could actually be struggling. And yet again, we gave her compassion, said, wow, this is a real cry for love. This is me. This is one. So we got down on our knees and we just started praying for her. Every day I committed to praying for her until it was forgotten. And she seemed to drop the charges. I didn't hear from her ever again. My peace was more important than the fight, because she's a reflection of me. And while I was struggling, maybe she was reflecting the struggle within me. And so I used that as an opportunity to have compassion for all of us. I've never stolen tens of thousands of dollars from people individually as Candace, but Candace is not innocent either. Candace has hurt people and has even intentionally hurt people. So we're both one and the same, her and I. I don't think she thought she was wrong, and there's times where I don't think thought I was wrong. She thought she was protecting herself. The rumor has it she didn't have the money to pay us back. And so she didn't. And she was actually so hard up that she was trying to sue us because she thought we were lying to her and we had money. So she was coming after us. But in the law of one, all is well. And I decided, because I'm divine, because I'm one with her, because all of this is just a dream, I decided, my husband and I decided, God, the divine, the one, in this moment will take care of us. All of this is perfect. We accept everything exactly as it is, as if we wrote it into the script, because at the deepest God level, we did. We designed the whole thing. This is one perfect holy instant, and who am I to say it wasn't supposed to happen that way? Because the very thing that she gave to us was the thing I was looking for, and it wasn't really money. After we let that situation go with her, and we truly prayed and gave blessing to her, something remarkable happened. We were gifted an opportunity to sit and do some of the holiest work of our life. We were able to take a class that would release me from all the separateness I felt, all the division I felt of this dream and of this world. I would be able to sit and do the work to transmute and to feel and to relieve the pain and the suffering and the separation I believed was impacting me, the Candace. And so I was able to take all that energy from her and the situation and the struggles of our income. We were also going through a lot of other really big things with our family and our business all at the same time. It literally felt last summer in mid-July as if we were drowning. Like the biggest 30-foot waves were taking us down into the deepest parts of the ocean, and it felt as if we were going to drown. It was one of the hardest seasons of my entire life. Those waves pounded and pounded. It was one thing after another. We were owed the money and didn't get it. We were threatened with the lawsuit. We had some business deals that didn't go through, and we were going through a major family loss. It felt like we couldn't get our head above water. I was desperate for peace, and I just kept my eyes on God. All I knew is to look up, look within, look at one. And it led us to a class that would take all that separation and all that feeling and help me transmute it into one, into peace. It's part of what I'm teaching now. And I was able to sit with everything and feel it and understand that this that I perceived to be out here was within me. I was able to hold it and look at it and have compassion for all the energy and all the grief and all the feelings and all the anger, and realize all is well. I was able to realize I'm not Candace. I am the divine. The divine cannot be hurt. Candace can be, but you are the divine who was hurt, who felt all that rage and anger, all that fear, was the thought, the person that thought it was separate. So in this course, I was able to really do the deepest work and come into some great amounts of peace. Just as we started to get back on our feet, more waves kept crashing. One of our friends that was really supportive through the time, he was hanging out with us as we were going through the turmoil with the landlord and businesses and going through the money losses and jeopardies with family. He heard it all. He came over one night and he sat on this couch, and we were just telling him how we were finding this peace and this bliss, and we were going through all this stuff. And we told him that we decided not to take this business deal to court, and just things that were going on. We were telling him all about it, catching him up. And little did we know that that'd be the last day we saw him. He died the next day. And just a few weeks later, my grandpa would die, and the waves would come crashing down over and over again. And we just had to keep our eye on one. The divine. Knowing that this is all a dream within God. Now, as I did that, I allowed grief, loss, shock, despair to come up. Just hold it. One of our only friends through this whole time. We have friends outside of the LA area, but he's one of our only friends in LA. We have these two other cute couple, but one of our only friends get hit on a motorcycle and die. Just after we felt like we were just coming up for air. And let me tell you, November was a very hard month. But again, all eyes on one. He got me through one moment at a time. December came and some more waves hit. Funny enough, all on the same day, days before Christmas. This time it was our family. And this time we were more prepared. We didn't know how the waves would hit, but because we started to figure out you keep your eyes on one moment. Everything is you. Everything is a reflection of the divine. This time, when three things happen all on the same day, we were prepared better for it. And we welcomed it. When those perceived assault came, we said, yes, you're me. I am you. And we didn't say that to them, but we felt it. And so when it seemed as if an attack came, I stopped and I said, come here. This is all within my heart. When an attack came, instead of me against them, I said, yes. Yeah. Okay. And I let those words wash. I decided to get back on my board and I was going to surf and I would see that person with love. Even though it was one of the most hurtful attacks, another unfair attack, just let those words just wash over. They mean nothing. In fact, what they do mean is a call for love. They thought they were separate from me. And so I have a choice not to see them as separate from me. They are divine. And they are reminding me to give love. They needed love and to give love even more to myself. There's a call for love for all of us. And so I decided to respond with love and just completely let that remark just wash over. Again and again, it happened 3 times that day with 3 different people. I decided I was more committed to bliss in one and seeing the divine in all than it was about being right. Because I could look at them for the first time and truly see the divine, the oneness in all of us. I could see their hurt. And I could see how they were asking to be loved with gentleness. Jesus says, forgive them for they know not what they do. They knew not what they did. If they were living from the place of oneness, they would never act like that. But they're not. They're living from the place of division. And so how else will they learn but to come at them from the place of the heart, the one's place, and to show them what love looks like? compassion, empathy. Dividing and taking defense would have only created more animosity. Based on my past experience with them, defensiveness doesn't wake them up to see. It only creates more division, because defending myself makes two. Myself defending myself makes two. It doesn't ever work. I have tried defending myself all my life, and all it has created is more division. So in this instance, I let those words turn around and just be love. I let everything that day turn into love so that I could have a beautiful Christmas. Because I want bliss for all of us. Because one is more important than anything. One, love, which is all of us. We're all looking for it. It exists right here. One sets you free. It doesn't see right or wrong, good or bad, black or white, them or us, it or us, it or me. No one is exempt. The monsters of this world, the ones that the media can't stand, they versus us, aren't exempt. They're us. All the atrocities going on in the world are part of us. It's not outside of us. Every storm, every monster, every insect, every predator, it all belongs. It usually just takes a change of perception, looking at it from the eyes of the divine, for us to see the oneness in all of it. There is no one outside of God's love. There is no one that can't be complete and whole in the eyes of God. And when we come from that place of God and divine and love and peace, there's no one we can't love and have compassion and forgiveness for. It doesn't mean they have to be in our inner life or in our circle, but it doesn't mean we have to close our heart to them. What it means is we can be in bliss, we can be in peace by letting what perceives to be the past go and accepting everything as it is for what it is. We can ride any storm and any wave by staying focused on one, by turning it all around and seeing it all as a divine experience, waking us up to the greatest love.